So I get the joy of finishing up our month called Making It Real. Reverend Karen and my attempt to take pieces of science of mind that we tend to throw out without a whole lot of definition because everybody knows what we're talking about, right? And sometimes people don't. And sometimes we aren't even totally clear what we're talking about. So today I want to talk about how often one of y'all will come to me and say, I love your talks, but I just really wish you would stop saying this word. It just pulls me right out of my whole shtick. I'm focusing, I'm listening, I'm learning, and then you say that word, and I just hate it. I twitch every time. And I'll say, you can go ahead in your mind and just switch it to the word you prefer. Or sometimes we'll use lots of synonyms. God, Spirit, the universe, the divine, creator source, the beloved, sweet spirit, your own heart. But we can't do that every time because you don't seem to enjoy it when the talks go for 45 minutes. And so I'm going to lovingly tell you, no. I will not stop saying that word. So let's take a look at some of the words you might wish me to stop saying. Got a little slide. And that's what it feels like when it's coming at me. And this is just a sample of them, of the kinds of words you might say. Goodness, Reverend Lezli, I wish you'd stop saying Christ consciousness. The minute I hear Jesus, twitch. The minute I hear worship, ugh. The minute you start talking about diversity, ugh. Why do we have to say we're radical? I don't want to be a radical. And whatever your word is, I invite you to just bring it up into your awareness, because I think we've all got at least one, don't we? That we just kind of wish everybody would stop using that word. But I'm going to give you three really good reasons to soften into this idea of me not stopping using those words. And if you are able to soften into it, you may find that it helps you become a wiser, kinder, healthier person. Do I have your interest piqued? Excellent. Good. That was the hope. So the first reason I'm going to dig into is philosophical. It's theological. It's ministerial school stuff. But it's something that we can all understand, and it's something that you'll recognize. And that is this idea that both Science of Mind, all three, Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, and the New Vision Center have all come into agreement that we honor every faith tradition and philosophy as a source of truth from the infinite oneness. Yeah? That resonates for you? It's something that we talk about all of the time, that we are, the reading that Rachel did of the Flame of All Faiths, opening up into that oneness. Now, does that mean that we align with every single perspective of every single faith tradition? Of course not. If we did, we wouldn't be our own faith tradition. Does it mean we're 100% bought into every single thing that someone in that tradition might do, choose, say, or believe? No. But we hold it in that light of oneness. And every word from every single teaching can find a way into our messages. You may notice that we often quote people from other faith traditions, yes? Just in the last few months, we've quoted people from Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, quite a few versions of Christianity, including, I know for sure, Lutheran, Catholic, Methodist, and Church of Christ. We have quoted philosophers, scientists, psychologists, writers, and Taylor Swift. My own personal Lord and Savior. Or at the very least, my favorite poet. We often share poetry and writings from all over the spectrum, which is a reflection of this idea that we believe that there is the oneness, the good, the wisdom to share from literally everything. There's something yummy in all of it. Now, again, we don't have to buy into every scrap of it, but there is something yummy for all of it. And behind this idea is this beautiful quote shared by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm pretty sure that's how it made it into Science of My Teachings, because as you may know, Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, loved himself some Emerson. He said reading Emerson was like drinking water. And he said this: there's a golden thread that runs through every religion in the world. There's a golden thread that runs through the lives and the teachings to all the prophets, seers, sages, and saviors in the world's history. Through the lives of all people of truly great and lasting power. And so that's what we're dipping into, that golden thread that runs through all voices of wisdom. But in order for us to get that wisdom, we are exposed to the language of the giver. Several weeks ago, when Rachel Sartori, our ministerial intern, gave a message in January, she shared a quote that was, if you want to be heard, you must speak the language of the listener. And I would extend that to, if you want to absorb wisdom, you have to be willing to hear the language of the speaker, even if it isn't your language. And we all have that capacity to do the mental trick, right? I say Jesus, you hear Buddha. I say God, you say Om. God, God, Jesus, or whatever yours is, right? I say rosary, you say mala beads. Excellent. Love it. Fantastic. So for us to be truly inclusive, even in the absorbing of our own wisdom, we have to make space for things that are outside of our current preferred experience. This requires a little bit of developing a skill. And I know y'all are good at that, right? We are good skill developers here. And that is to recognize when we are in judgment. So I'm going to give you a definition for judgment here, a little bit of a parse on this. We're in judgment when we're pushing against something with energy. It might be anger, it might be hurt, and we're like, that's not for me. It's the kind of energy that would lead you to join me on a lovely Sunday at the receiving line and say, that was a great talk, but I hate when you use that word. Nobody ever says it in a nice voice. I'd love for you to consider using a different, no. Oh, I hate it. We have a good time over in the receiving line. Interesting things get shared. There's another way, because we can't go through life just accepting with an open gate literally absolutely everything, or we wouldn't even able to get dressed in the morning, right? We have to decide cereal or oatmeal. We have to make a choice, this book or that book, this church or that spiritual center. We have to make choices. So we have to decide. But there is also the path of discernment. So discernment is when we get to make a choice, but there isn't that energy around it. And what that looks like is over a nice lunch that you invite me to and pay for. That's not actually a part of it. You know, in a lovely conversation, you say, you know what's really working me right now? The 3-week series on Bible truth. Because the Bible historically has not been something I feel comfortable with. And I'm getting a lot out of it, but ooh, I feel it work in me. I feel it work in me. And I'll be happy when we move on to, Buddhist truth or Jewish truth or anything else truth than New Testament. So you can share it, you can see it, you can know it without that energy within you. That's a sign that you're in discernment. And from discernment, we can open up to all kinds of wisdom without feeling like it's taking us over. Does that make sense? So that's an opportunity to become a little bit more wise, to sink into our discernment and to recognize that sometimes staying in principle, like our belief that everything is of the one and ought be honored, means we have to grow into that principle rather than asking for an external change so that we can feel comfortable in our smallness. Ooh, take a breath. Take a breath, friends. I did say the whole talk is about me telling you no. All right. So the second reason I'm going to tell you no, and I say it with so much love. Hear it like I'm telling my puppy no. Gracie baby, no jumping on mommy's knitting. That's the first 2 times. About the third time, it's like, Gracie! I don't pretend to have mastered all of this yet. So the second reason is communal. It's community-based. And that is, okay, we're going to need a big breath for this one. Are we ready? Not everybody thinks the way I do. But we think they do, don't they? We talk to the 2 or 3 friends that sit around us that also happen to like the same TV shows and shop at the same stores and get the elbows when Reverend Lezli gives the good one and get the when Reverend Lezli says something you don't like. But the reality is there are a lot of people in our community. And even if you were to look around here in the sanctuary, there are as many or more online. And our beloveds, our New Vision Center family contains multiple countries, multiple countries of origin, multiple first languages, at least 10 religions of origin that I know of, and completely secular atheists. That's right. You can do this teaching atheist. It's kind of awesome. All the tools still work. I know, my kids do it all the time. And the odds of everybody thinking the same when we're from all of these different places and spaces, I mean, I personally have practiced at least 4 religions, and I probably wandered through a few more before I landed here. And we're a people of seekers, so you probably have too. Very, very few people came up in Science of Mind and stayed there the whole time. The only person I know who did that is Kelly, Larry and Kelly Hartstein. Kelly is the only person I know whose grandmother was in Science of Mind, and she's been in it her whole life. Everybody else I know came to it from something else. But there's this trick that happens in the human brain. It's so common, there's a name for it. And it is called the false consensus effect. It's the tendency to overestimate how many people share your beliefs, preferences, and behaviors. Yeah, ooh. So here's a true truth that you may be shocked to find out. When you come to me or to Reverend Karen or to a practitioner and you say, I am so irritated that Reverend Lezli keeps talking about radical inclusion, just to pick one. I don't want to be radical. We shouldn't have to include. We're already one. We shouldn't have to talk about that. I'm irritated that she keeps bringing it up. Here's what I want you to know. For every one of you that is very sure that everyone agrees with them, somebody else is coming to me that same bleeping day and saying, thank you so much for talking about this. It touches my heart. It makes me feel safe. For every person that says, I've really had it with the Jesus talk, I came up Jewish, or I came up a religion that didn't believe in Jesus, and he's just this guy. Why do we keep talking about him? Somebody else is saying, I could cry. I'm so happy to hear about the master teacher Jesus coming from the mouths of my ministers. Let's take that in. What we're so sure, we know for sure everybody wants, everybody doesn't want. And every single word or concept I can think of that I've ever been asked to tone down, somebody else is desperately hungry to hear. So the invitation here is to open up into empathy. To open up into the idea that if something isn't for me in this service, my discernment is activated. Ooh, yeah, lots more about Jesus. That is not my deal. But I bet it's somebody else's. Can I soften into this idea of making space if I can't get anything out of this point? And it's really hard to not get anything out of any story, even if it's not your personal avatar of choice. I'm not a particular Jesus person. I'm a Buddha person. But Jude wrote some good stories. Can I open up to hold the space through empathy for my brothers and sisters and gentle thems who are receiving from this point. Is this my Sunday to be a part of the container that holds everybody in love? Whew. Are we brave enough and mature enough to do that? It's an invitation for each one of us to feel into. And I'm going to give you a third reason. This will either be your favorite reason or your least favorite reason. And that is, triggers are a doorway to healing. They are the big invitation. So, going back to this idea of principle, Centers for Spiritual Living, I'm going to do it a different way. The Science of Mind, have you heard the What We Believe statements? It's a document that Ernest Holmes wrote very early in his career to explain to a journalist what he believes. And we modified it into what we believe. And one of the things they say is that the highest calling to humanity is to get to a point where there's freedom from discord of any nature, which really means, it doesn't mean nothing bad will ever happen. We're still living. There's still, the 101. We'll have a freedom from the perception of discord of any nature, that we will be able to be in whatever situation and know that it is not for the harm of us. Ooh. So every trigger is a perception of discord. And when we are activated, triggered, whatever your preferred language is for that, when we hear the word and we go, eh, that is our highest wisdom self saying, ooh, you know how you're always saying, well, I want to heal my hidden thoughts. I want to heal my mistaken beliefs. I don't want to walk around just a festering hangnail for the rest of my life. But I don't know what they are. How could I ever find what my woundedness is? It's subconscious. That's the trick, isn't it? It's subconscious. If we knew what it is, we'd be with the practitioner healing it right now. But it's subconscious. The trigger is the big neon sign in the sky saying, it's right here. It's this. Something about this word, this belief is connected to a wound on the inside of you. And here is your giant invitation to step into healing it. If we choose, we can see that wound and say, okay, I see it. I see where I am perceiving discord. I see it. But we want to push it away, right? Like, no, thank you, no, thank you. Don't say that word. But this wonderful therapist, Fiona Farron, said, avoiding your triggers isn't healing. Avoiding your triggers isn't healing. Healing happens when you're triggered and you're able to move through the pain, the pattern, and the story and walk your way to a different ending. It's when you choose the empathy for yourself, when you decide to stay in principle and choose the empathy for yourself and stay in that conversation. Why does this push me so hard? Where is that coming from? And do I want to keep interpreting it that way? Many of us came to New Vision Center wounded by a faith or a philosophy or a person professing to have a faith or a philosophy, whether it was in alignment with the actual philosophy or not. Many of us were told we didn't fit, we aren't welcome, we're wrong, just for being who we are, for myriad different reasons. The words didn't do that. We were wounded by people who were wounded. And we can choose to stay in our discernment and tell the difference. If we can, then we could hear any word, and switch it to the word in our mind that lands for us without feeling like we have been harmed or diminished in any way. That is life free from discord. So, my beloved friends, no, I will not stop saying those words. I will mitigate. I will only use each one sometimes. And I will invite each one of us, including myself, to choose not to hide from the things that trigger us, but to choose to heal and move forward so that nothing has the capacity to knock me off my center of truth. And here's your invitation to move through your week and the coming weeks simply noticing. Notice the trigger and invite yourself into a deeper awareness of it, beyond just the, ugh, I hate that, and into the, why does that get me? Is there something there for me to open up to? Is there something there for me to let go? And I hope you will join me. And so it is. So let's pray this in, shall we? Oh, how good it is to be in this space, in this place of consciousness with beloveds here in this room and all over the planet who have chosen to be a yes for the healing power of spirit, who have chosen to open our hearts and our minds and our lives in such a way that we can become who we really are, a walking out of divine truth. So grateful I am to know that each heart, each mind that brought something heavy into this time together, that it's being met, even as we speak these words, by the one infinite reality, the divinity that holds it all together. So grateful I am for the love and the peace and the deep inclusivity that New Vision Center continues to strive to be. I trust that the divine, as each one of us, is filling us up and helping us to be that place of empathy and love for every single person who ever crosses our path. And I'm grateful to know that that's just the way the world works, that Spirit's already on it before I even thought to start this prayer. So just let it be and call it good as we claim it together by saying, and so it is.